Welcome students for online classes. So today we'll continue the chapter 3 under statistics, that is organization of data. In the earlier session we had studied how to make tally marking, we had studied what is exclusive data, what is inclusive data, all these things. So in this session we'll study about the loss of information, unequal classes and the frequency array. So first thing, what is loss of information? The classified data summarizes the raw data, making a concise and comprehensive. It does not show the details that are found in raw data. Once the data are grouped into classes, an individual observation has no significance in the further statistical calculations. This is known as loss of information. When I can speak in simple terms, I can tell that when I take into consideration a class of 20 to 30, which will be containing 6 observations or 6 frequencies. So this will be the frequency which I take into consideration. When I take into consideration all these things, when I do a frequency distribution, I will be writing only this 20 to 30, the class and the frequency of 6 number. I will never write what are the frequency which I had taken into consideration. So the values after taking into consideration the raw data, after taking into consideration for the frequency, these data is of no use. So that is known as loss of information, where the actual value which I had taken into consideration is of no use after doing a frequency distribution. So in simple terms, I can tell that the raw data after using in any specific information, the data which is not been further been used, the raw data which is not further been used, that is known as loss of information. Not only here in under statistics, even everywhere what happens, once you take into consideration of any report or any kind of thing, what happens after some point of time, you will not go through that report. That is known as loss of information, where you will not take into consideration what have you done in the earlier process. The next thing under the organization of data is frequency distribution with unequal classes. Unequal classes in the sense where there is no equivalence under the classes. So what are the classes? Classes are like this: 0 to 10, 10 to 20, these are the classes. So what is the meaning of unequal classes? When the width of the class interval of a group is not equal, it is known as unequal class. What have they told? When the class interval of a group is not equal. As I can show you in this particular example, what is there? The first class is 0 to 10. Sorry, second class is 10 to 20, third class is 20 to 25, next is 25 to 30, the last one is 30 to 37. Is there any proper continuity? Is the class interval equal from one another? There is no equivalence of the class interval from one to another. How? Here the class interval is 10, here the class interval is 5, here the class interval is 7. So this is known as unequal classes, where the class interval is not equal. When there is difference between the two limits in the sense the upper limit and the lower limit, when there is difference between all these things, when there is when there is no proper equivalence in all the classes, that is known as frequency distribution with unequal classes, where the width of the class interval is not equal within all the classes. That is known as unequal classes under frequency distribution. This is the frequency class. This is the frequency curve which is made based upon the frequency class which I had taken into consideration in the earlier session. So based upon the data which I can take into consideration, I will be showing you the data. So based upon this data, what happens, I have taken into consideration the frequency. So the classes I have taken into consideration here: 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 37. So what is the frequency here? The frequency is 47196. So based upon the classes and based upon the frequency, I have made the frequency curve. So this is known as frequency curve. Based upon the frequency distribution, you make a curve. Maybe it can be line graph, maybe it can be curve graph. That is known as frequency class. Okay students, last topic of our chapter, that is about the frequency array. Now what is frequency array? till now we had studied the frequency distribution for the continuous class. That was about the continuous class. So what was continuous class? This is the continuous class 0 to 10 where we have a proper fraction. But what is the discrete variable where there is no proper fractions? For discrete variable, when the classification is made, that is known as frequency array. For the continuous variable, when the frequency is made, classification was made, that was known as frequency distribution. But for the discrete variable, when the classification is made, that is known as frequency array. Okay students, so discrete variable can take the value of the immediate values, or it can even jump the values. So how the values will be? The values can be like this. It will be not the continuous values. The values can be 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, even like that. Or even it can jump the values 2 4 6 8, or 1 3 10 15, like that. Even it can jump the values, or even it can be continuous like this 2 3 4 5 6 7. So how will be the frequency taken into consideration? So the frequency taken into consideration, the example what I have taken is that the height of a particular person, so 2 feet will be the kids height, the children's height. So 34 number of families in a locality has the children with the height of 2 feet. In the same way, I have taken into consideration the height of the to children with the family number of families which comes under the same locality. So this is about the discrete variable. Next and the last thing is about univariate and bivariate, the frequency distribution of a single variable. So this is about the single variable. This is known as the frequency distribution for univariate distribution. So what is bivariate distribution? Bivariate distribution is a distribution made for the two variables, in the sense when I have taken into consideration only one locality. But when I take into consideration of the 2 locality, 3 locality, 4 locality, that will be the bivariate in the sense the distribution which is taken into consideration of 2 variables. Here I have taken only one frequency into consideration. This is known as univariate distribution. But when I take 2 localities into consideration for the same number of height, that can be told as the bivariate distribution. So this is about the particular chapter. So by this we have completed a chapter, the assignment part. Briefly explain loss of information in the classified data. Explain frequency distribution with unequal classes with example, with your own example. Okay, what is the meaning of frequency array? What is univariate and bivariate frequency distribution? So this is the end of chapter. By this we have studied the classification of data, by what means we can classify the data, maybe with the chronological order, maybe with the temporal order. Next, what is frequency, what is variable, what is frequency distribution, what is frequency array, what is frequency curve. All of this we have studied under this chapter, organization of data. The weightage of marks. So based upon the organization of chapter, the weightage of marks is total of 7 marks, where 1 mark question, 2 mark question and 4 mark question is being asked. So thank you students.